So we have this old boom truck. It's a 1979 F800. The starter ring gear went bad, so we pulled the transmission out, and in the process drained the oil and found a whole bunch of metal shavings in the bottom of this case and found the culprit. That bearing is destroyed in the output, which is lucky to find it now. I mean, it did sound like somebody dropped a box of marbles in it before. That's why, apparently. So we are going to disassemble this and rebuild it, hopefully. I have no idea what we're doing, but it doesn't look that hard. We've already got the top of the case off and the shifter tower off, which was pretty easy. There's just a dozen bolts or so around the top to pull this out, and then the shift tower and PTO. So we're going to try and disassemble this. It's a Clark 282V HD1. Old 5-speed, medium duty truck 5-speed. We already got this nut off the back, which was interesting because it's like tucked way in there to get this yoke out. So we'll continue disassembling. We have just got whatever that thing is, because I don't know the name of it. He does. But that off, and here's what's left of your bearing. You can just kind of diddle-daddle all these bearings around, all these rollers. That one's sideways. And that one's sideways. And that one down there is half chewed. It's like caught in between. Look at all of this. Oh yeah, and carnage. That's also beautiful. That's just yummy. Very yummy. Looks like anti-seize. And then that's a little Eden right there on that thread. But yeah, that's real nice. So yeah, just wanted to show you that. Glad we caught this now before it was too bad. So yeah, there you go.
So after much asking, we finally got this speedometer race bearing off. As you see, we had to cut it in two. So the process was, whenever it was on there, so first we tried to pull it off, but that didn't work. So then we tried to heat it up and pull it off, but that didn't work. So then we tried to cut it with the grinder, and that didn't work. And also heat it up and pull it off, and that didn't work. So after cutting it twice, cutting it with the Dremel for more like fine-tuning to try and get all the way through it, heating it up many times and pulling it, we finally got it off. And the reason it was so just on there, oh, it actually goes like this, was it had moved on this shaft, so it basically fusion welded itself onto there. So there's still like pieces of it on there. You can see right here, like this, just it was one with the shaft. So finally, after like 4 different plans, we got that off. And so now we could not find a rebuild kit for these bearings or anything anywhere. So what we're gonna do, what we're gonna have to do, is we're gonna get the main bearing and the throwout bearing separately, and then also the seal. So the whole reason that this happened is because this was leaking, and which caused all the chaos, because it was low on oil, and that caused everything. So we're gonna have to get all of that, the seal, the bearing, and the other bearing, separately, because we can't find a rebuild kit on planet Earth anywhere for these. We searched like every parts warehouse in America, or called them at least, and nothing. So that's the plan. And obviously, a new one of these separately, because there's no where to buy them. But yeah, so finally got that off, and also got that off too. But yeah, so that's the plan, and that's also how it's going right now. So all right, so it has been a week since our last little clip. We have just mostly been waiting for parts, but we finally got all the parts today. So we cleaned this up a bit using some sandpaper, so that's smoother now. And of course, we're just still cleaning all this up and getting it ready. So we're gonna clean this up some more too. You can see there's some grooves in there that you can feel with your fingers, so it's not good. And the race for this is in the freezer, and the bearing
for that,
yeah, for this is in the oven. Or did I get that mixed up?
No, that's right.
Okay, yeah. And then this was what was leaking right here. That's why this whole thing broke, was this leaked oil out, and then ran out of oil, and the bearing almost blew up. So yeah, luckily this one's fine. But here's some more metal chunks that I scraped out of the oh my gosh, that's some big chunks. Look at that one right there. It's crazy. But out of here mostly is where I got those from. It's from right here, from the speedometer gear. So yeah, finally got our parts in, and now we're just cleaning it, getting ready to put back together. right, so we just now realized after the fact that we should have been recording this, but so as you can see by the condensation right here, we threw this race in the freezer, and then we threw that bearing in the oven. So what that allowed us to do is when we threw this in the freezer, it made it freeze, and which makes it, you know, tiny bit smaller. So that kind of slid right in with just a little bit of a punch. So if you guys want a little tip for that, there you go. Put that in the freezer. And then the bearing, we put that in the oven so it get nice and hot, so it expand a little bit. And so we slid it right on there before we put this in, before we put these gears back in there. So it just slid right on when it was hot, just, and then you just let it cool and it goes right on. But yeah, there you go. There's that. All the gears are in there, and with your bearing and your race. And now I'm about to go get this speedometer gear. We're gonna put that on there. So after some thinking, we actually pounded this back out by just hitting the rear end of this shaft. Yeah, this main shaft here. We just pounded it back out because in order to get all of that stuff back in there, you have to have the shaft like that out of there. So for all those watching, floor's so slippery. Do that first. Do this first before you put that in, probably. This is where we are at our current moment in time. We got our rear retainer installed along with the entire set on the main shaft here. You can see there's all your thingamabobbers and what's-its. But so there's that, and then we just finished putting that on there. And I went and got the speedometer gear from the oven.
Did you shut the oven off?
No. I'll shut it off later. But it's already preheated for pizza. Look at that. But yeah, so there's that. And for some reason, there's a bolt on here on this rear retainer. That one, right there. It's always such a pain in the butt to get in there because this park brake. So luckily my little nimble fingers can get in there, but I don't know how they got it in there at the factory. Comment if you know, if you would happen to know how they install that in a factory or however they did it. But yeah, so almost done by this point. We didn't record the rest because my dad did this at like 12 o'clock at night, so we didn't record it. But pretty much, if you want a explanation of how to put it back together, you just... No, actually, you guys already saw us put that on. So you put this cover on and put all the bolts on, and then you tap that on, and then you bolt that on, and then that's it. You're done. So it's not all that difficult to just put the small things back together. And we already tested it, and it already works. Of course, we just spun it with our hand, but yeah. So that is the transmission, nice and rebuilt. And of course, I mean, this hole's here, but the PTO goes there, so don't worry, that'll be covered.